NXT 2.0 superstar Solo Sikoa makes his WWE main roster debut, assisting Roman Reigns in retaining his undisputed Universal Championship against Drew McIntyre at Clash at the Castle. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of WWE, and yesterday saw an historical event, Clash at the Castle, Principality Stadium, Cardiff, Wales. Over 62,000 fans jam-packed that stadium for what was, I thought, a really enjoyable show, historic show, with a big main event that saw Roman Reigns retain the Universal Championship against possibly the single biggest threat to his over 2-year Universal Championship reign. Now, as I mentioned, he got some assistance via the bloodline, even though there was it was thought or perceived that Roman Reigns was going into that show solo. He wasn't actually solo because, yes, there was no Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman's out of action after Brock Lesnar F5'd him through the announce table at SummerSlam. There was no Jimmy and Jey Uso. Of course, they were out of action, not medically cleared to be in Cardiff. There was no Sami Zayn, the associate of the Bloodline. He was out of action, not medically cleared after what happened on SmackDown. So the assumption was it was going to be one-on-one, Reigns, McIntyre, and possibly it was going to be the time that Roman Reigns' historic over 2-year reign as Universal Champion came to an end. But NXT superstar Solo Sikoa made his main roster debut at the Clash at the Castle event to save his cousin. Now, Sikoa made his debut while helping his cousin, undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns, retain his championship against Drew McIntyre. As I mentioned, his older brothers, Jimmy and Jey Uso, were not at the event due to not being cleared. The undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions were, of course, attacked by McIntyre this past Friday on SmackDown on Fox. Now, during the undisputed WWE Universal Championship match, Sikoa stopped the referee from counting to 3 after McIntyre hit him with a Claymore. There must be said, there was chaos in this match. Earlier on in the match, you had Karrion Kross, who was sitting ringside with Scarlett, throw a water bottle at Drew McIntyre. You thought, is Karrion Kross going to get involved? You had Austin Theory run out and attempt to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase. However, as he was about to cash it in, Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, stood up and knocked Austin Theory out at ringside, preventing a cash-in. However, a ref was down at this period of time because McIntyre had hit Roman Reigns with a Claymore so hard that Reigns had actually fallen into a referee. So there was no referee at the time. So as Roman Reigns has a steel chair, he's about to hit McIntyre with a steel chair. Bang, gets hit with a Claymore. It's 1, 2, and then the fresh referee gets pulled out of the ring by Solo Sikoa, again stopping the referee counting to 3 after McIntyre hit a Claymore, seemingly having Reigns defeated. McIntyre then went after Sikoa, which allowed Reigns to hit him with a spear to pin him. It was the 3rd spear of the match after McIntyre had kicked out of the first 2. Now, Sikoa had signed with WWE in August of 2021. He made his NXT debut during Halloween Havoc of last year, nearly a year ago, where he took out Grayson Waller during a segment between Waller and LA Knight. Now, he last competed on TV on the August 2nd episode of NXT, where he defeated Von Wagner in a Falls Count Anywhere match. A week later, WWE announced on the August 9 edition of NXT 2.0 that he had suffered a sprained PCL. Now, it must be said, you could see last night that he was wearing a knee brace, so it would appear that that sprained PCL is legitimate. Now, before signing with WWE, Sikoa trained at his father Rikishi's Knox X Pro Wrestling promotion. He also played college football. I didn't think it was the best match on the show, because I think the best match on the show was Sheamus versus Gunther. Again, I did a full 45-minute post-show reaction stream. Be sure to check that out on the channel. I thought Gunther versus Sheamus, I think, as a possibility for match of the year. It was just that good. As a match, it's my kind of pro wrestling. It was just that good of a match. So if you haven't watched it, be sure to check that out. But in terms of a main event, what I can say about it is it was a very good match, but it felt like a big fight feel. And sometimes in Roman Reigns matches, and he's had so many big stadium main events against big talent. So Roman Reigns is completely in his element, and it really followed the same pattern that you would expect of these Roman Reigns big stadium championship main events, where he slows the pace down, it builds to a crescendo, 30 minutes, 30 plus minutes, and that's exactly what happened here. But in those other stadium main events that he's had against the likes of John Cena, against the likes of Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, etc., you always knew Reigns is winning. Reigns isn't losing the Universal Championship. Last night was really the first time, I think, and due to obviously some outside reports that WWE was considering having him drop the championship, and also it being in the UK and looking at the options available to who could be the person to beat him for the championship. With all of that being said, you did feel like, well, maybe tonight is the night. I still predicted Reigns to win, but I did feel like something could happen, and I do think there is a want to get the WWE Championship certainly off of Roman Reigns, but I don't think they've figured out how they're going to do it just yet. So it did feel like at points like, well, maybe tonight is the night. Maybe tonight is the time. Maybe it is going to happen. And I bought in. When Drew McIntyre hit that Claymore, I thought they're going to do it. They're going to pull the trigger. And the crowd did. The crowd was going nuts. Absolutely insane. And I didn't see the Solo Sikoa thing coming, even though it's been widely reported. It was widely reported that Solo Sikoa was coming to the main roster. It was widely reported he was going to get called up. And let's face it, if an Uso's getting called up to the main roster, I know that he has said previously in interviews, well, actually, I would want to sort of carve my own legacy. I'd want to do my own thing. I always found that to be somewhat naive, and because why wouldn't you want to be involved in the bloodline right now? It's the hottest act in WWE. It's the biggest money-drawing act. It's selling out stadiums. It's main event territory. Look what it's done for the Usos. Of course, the Usos, fantastic tag team, one of the greatest tag team in modern WWE history in the last sort of 20 years or so. But they're the undisputed tag team champions because of their association with Roman Reigns. Like, that being involved in that storyline has proved entirely beneficial for them. So if you're a young talent like Solo Sikoa coming out of the gate, of course you want to be associated with Roman Reigns. Of course you want to be associated with the Usos. So it's only logical sense. I thought it was a creative finish. I know people weren't happy going, oh, the Reigns reign of terror continues, and I can't believe UK Stadium Show, the first ever UK Stadium Show in 30 years. They had the home, well, not home country because he's from Scotland, but, the UK guy lose and this, that, and the other. But I do agree with the booking decision in that I just don't think it was the right time. I don't think it was the right time to have Reigns drop the championship just yet. Who will that person be to defeat him? Well, Reigns definitely now, I think, holds certainly the Universal Championship until WrestleMania. I think. I mean, the WWE Championship, they could possibly do the split somehow. Karrion Kross is going to be facing Roman Reigns at Extreme Rules, most likely next month. They could do a situation where it's just for the WWE Championship. Again, how they get there, I don't know. But Roman Reigns will be Universal Champion until WrestleMania next year. I still believe the plan is to have Roman Reigns versus The Rock at WrestleMania next year. Does that match need the Universal Championship? No, but Reigns is going to win that match too. The Rock isn't going to have his final match in WWE, and he's not going to beat Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. And can you imagine having Roman Reigns be a champion and essentially be undefeated, certainly in singles competition? I mean, in terms of being pinned, because he did lose to Seth Rollins by disqualification earlier this year. But in terms of not being pinned for basically 2.5 years, for that to be ended by The Rock and then The Rock disappear, this is like the Undertaker's streak. I mean, nowhere near the longevity. But the point being, whoever beats Roman Reigns should be the next guy and the next permanent full-time guy that's going to be making towns and be on television every single week. Who's that going to be? Most likely, honestly, at this point, is Cody Rhodes. The issue is that Cody Rhodes is currently out of action. We did see a vignette for his return last night, or a recovery update. I expect him to be back around the time of the Royal Rumble. I expect him to win the Royal Rumble, and if it's not going to be Reigns versus The Rock at WrestleMania, it'll be Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. And that will be the match that they build towards, and maybe Cody Rhodes will be the one to beat it, which is wild, considering the guy to defeat the guy that's been undefeated for 2.5 years, undisputed Universal Champion for such a long period of time. The guy to defeat him for that is one of the founding fathers of AEW. It's incredible. But that's the pro wrestling story that we're living in right now. So Solo Sikoa makes his main roster debut, helps Roman Reigns. Drew McIntyre loses. I do think, though, Drew McIntyre in defeat looked like a star. The post-match stuff with Tyson Fury, I thought was bizarre, and I'm a big Tyson Fury fan, and I know he does it after his boxing fights, but it didn't fit the tone, I think, last night. I think that They could have told a better story of McIntyre looking dejected and building him back up, but they kind of just... Drew McIntyre got up and went, "I'll win next time," and started singing Oasis, "Don't Look Back in Anger," which was odd. But there you go. So Roman Reigns, still undisputed Universal Champion. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. And I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.